What if the greatest teachings of Jesus were never meant to be public? What if, buried beneath layers of doctrine and dogma, there exists a secret message, a spiritual technology, preserved not in ink and parchment, but in silence, in symbols, and in the hearts of the few who dared to seek? You see, history is not always written by the victors. Sometimes, it's edited by institutions. What we call the Bible today is not a complete record of the words spoken by one of the most enigmatic spiritual teachers in history. It's a curated collection, selected, revised, and in some cases, censored. But those who walk the hidden path know, truth has a way of surviving. Across deserts and monasteries, behind the walls of forbidden temples, through the whispers of mystics and the scrolls hidden in caves, echoes of another Jesus emerge. A Jesus who didn't just teach salvation through belief, but liberation through knowledge. A Jesus who revealed that the kingdom of heaven is not in the clouds, but within the human soul. This is not the Jesus of Sunday sermons. This is the Jesus who taught that the world is illusion, that light and shadow dance within us, and that through inner alchemy, we may become what he truly was, or realized being. In this video, we are going to unlock some of those teachings, hidden fragments preserved in the Gnostic Gospels, ancient esoteric traditions, and the whispered lineages of spiritual adepts. We will explore the mystical messages that never made it into mainstream theology, messages that were deemed too dangerous, too empowering, or too mysterious for the masses. You'll discover what Jesus truly meant when he said, "The kingdom of God is within you." You'll learn why some early Christian sects believed in reincarnation, why the Gospel of Thomas reads like a Zen koan, and why silence was sometimes his greatest teaching of all. But this is not just history. These teachings are a mirror, meant to reveal something hidden inside you. Are you ready to remember what was forgotten? To understand the missing teachings of Jesus, we must begin not with the New Testament, but with what was left out of it. In 1945, in a dusty cave near Nag Hammadi in Egypt, a discovery was made that would shake the foundations of biblical scholarship. A sealed jar was unearthed, filled with ancient papyrus codices written in Coptic. These were not ordinary scriptures. These were gospels, dialogues, and mystical writings, long believed lost or even destroyed. Among them were the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philip, the Gospel of Truth, and others attributed to figures close to Jesus, like Mary Magdalene and Judas. These texts are now known collectively as the Gnostic Gospels, and they offer a radically different view of Jesus and his teachings, one that is inward, mystical, and deeply esoteric. Gnosticism, derived from the Greek word gnosis, meaning knowledge, was not a heresy, as the Church later declared. It was an ancient spiritual tradition rooted in the idea that salvation comes not through blind faith, but through direct inner knowing. According to the Gnostics, Jesus was not just a savior, but a revealer, a guide who came to awaken divine knowledge buried within each human soul. But this view posed a problem. If divinity is within, what need is there for priests, churches, or hierarchical control? If the kingdom is internal, then no empire, no temple, and no power structure can claim exclusive access to it. This is why, in the 4th century, as Christianity became institutionalized under the Roman Empire, these texts were declared blasphemous. They were hidden, burned, or banned, because they threatened the external authority of organized religion. And yet, traces of this inner tradition survived, not only in the Nag Hammadi texts but in the writings of mystics, in the rituals of secret societies, and in the quiet practices of those who sought truth beyond dogma. The early Church Fathers debated these teachings vigorously. Irenaeus, a bishop of the 2nd century, wrote an entire treatise against the Gnostics, condemning their teachings as dangerous and elitist. But even in his criticisms, we learn what the Gnostics taught, that the material world was not created by the ultimate God, but by a lesser force, a demiurge. That Jesus came to liberate souls from illusion, not merely to atone for sin. That true transformation is an inner process, not a legal pardon. Even within the canonical Bible, clues remain, veiled references to deeper truths for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus says, "To you it has been given to know the secrets of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given." This is a direct statement that he taught on two levels, one for the crowds, and one for those prepared for deeper mysteries. Throughout the ancient world, this distinction was well known. The Eleusinian mysteries of Greece, the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus in Egypt, the esoteric schools of Judaism like the Essenes, all maintained that sacred wisdom was to be revealed only to those who were inwardly prepared. Was Jesus a part of this lineage? The evidence suggests he may have been. Some scholars believe Jesus spent years of his youth in Egypt, where mystery schools flourished. Others trace connections between his teachings and the philosophies of India and Persia. Whether literal or symbolic, these parallels are undeniable. The emphasis on inner light, self-realization, and transcending illusion is found across these traditions. In the world Jesus walked, the spiritual landscape was rich with esoteric traditions. The Essenes, with whom Jesus likely shared some connection, practiced asceticism, studied sacred texts deeply, and awaited a spiritual Messiah. They believed in purification, divine union, and the hidden mysteries of Scripture. Sound familiar? So when Jesus taught that the kingdom of heaven is within, he was not offering a poetic metaphor. He was pointing to a mystical truth, one that aligns more with Gnostic and esoteric traditions than the later creeds of orthodoxy. In the next section, we'll begin to decode the actual teachings themselves, starting with the sayings from the Gospel of Thomas and other hidden texts, and exploring how these reveal a path to awakening not through belief, but through direct experience of the divine. Among the fragments of forgotten wisdom, one document stands as a beacon to those seeking the inner path, the Gospel of Thomas. It does not tell the story of Jesus' life. There is no crucifixion, no miracles, no narrative. Instead, it offers 114 cryptic sayings, logia, each a puzzle, each a portal. These are not teachings meant for the surface. They are designed like keys. If you know how to turn them, they unlock something hidden within you. The very first verse sets the tone: whoever finds the interpretation of these sayings will not taste death. What does this mean? Literal immortality? Perhaps not. In mystical traditions, death often symbolizes separation from divine awareness. To not taste death is to awaken to the eternal part of yourself, the self that does not die. And here is the central revelation of these hidden teachings: Jesus did not come to bring religion. He came to awaken gnosis, direct knowledge of the divine spark within. One of the most powerful sayings in Thomas is this: if those who lead you say to you, "See, the kingdom is in the sky," then the birds of the sky will precede you. If they say, "It is in the sea," then the fish will precede you. Rather, the kingdom is inside of you, and it is outside of you. When you come to know yourselves, then you will become known, and you will realize you are the children of the living Father. This is not metaphor. This is metaphysics. The kingdom of heaven is not a place to go after death, it is a state of consciousness, a realm of being that can be accessed here and now through self-knowledge. The phrase, "when you come to know yourselves," echoes a command from the Oracle of Delphi: know thyself. In the esoteric traditions, this knowing is not intellectual. It is intuitive, experiential, transcendent. It means recognizing the divine essence hidden beneath the ego, the roles, the illusions. Jesus taught this in parables because truth, when told plainly, often goes ignored. But when veiled in mystery, it forces the seeker to engage, to reflect, to wrestle. Consider this saying: if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. This is inner alchemy. The "what is within you" is the latent divinity, the potential for transformation. If left undeveloped, it festers, turning inward as suffering. But if cultivated, it blossoms into gnosis, liberation, light. Another hidden teaching lies in Jesus' repeated references to light. In the canonical Gospels, he says, "The light of the body is the eye, if therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light." This, too, is a mystical teaching. The single eye is not merely about vision, it refers to the inner eye, the third eye, the pineal gland, a concept shared across Egyptian, Hindu, and Hermetic traditions. When awakened, this eye perceives the unseen, the higher realms, the divine in all things. In Gnostic texts, light is not just illumination, it is essence. To be filled with light is to remember your true nature. In the Gospel of Philip, another suppressed text, we find this enigmatic line, "Truth did not come into the world naked, but in types and images. It will not be received in any other way." This echoes the ancient Hermetic axiom, as above, so below. Spiritual truths are encoded in the material world, hidden in symbols, parables, dreams, and metaphors. Jesus was not merely a moral teacher. He was a mystagogue, a revealer of mysteries. His parables, his silences, even his miracles were all designed to stir remembrance in those who had forgotten their origin. But perhaps one of the most profound hidden messages is this: you are not separate from God. In John 10 verse 34, a line preserved even in the canonical texts, Jesus says, "Is it not written in your law, I have said you are gods?" This is a direct quotation from Psalm 82, and it scandalized the religious authorities of his day. To claim that humanity shares in divinity was, and still is, revolutionary. But in the Gnostic view, this was the core of Jesus' message: we are not worms begging for grace. We are sparks of the divine, asleep in matter, waiting to awaken. And so the hidden teachings begin to emerge, not as doctrines, but as mirrors. Each saying is a doorway. Each paradox, a guidepost. In the next section, we will dive even deeper, into the mystical concept of the divine feminine, the secret role of Mary Magdalene, and the teachings on inner union, reincarnation, and the ultimate return to the source. In the echoing silence of forgotten scrolls, there is a voice you were never meant to hear, a voice that speaks not only of salvation, but of union, balance, and transformation. That voice belongs not just to Jesus, but to one of his most misunderstood and concealed companions, Mary Magdalene. In the Gnostic tradition, Mary Magdalene is not a reformed prostitute, as later church teachings claimed. She is a spiritual adept, a visionary, and perhaps Jesus' closest disciple. In the Gospel of Mary, a text discovered in the late 19th century, it is she, not Peter, not John, who receives the highest teachings from the resurrected Christ. She is portrayed as the one who understands the inner message. Why was her role diminished, even erased? Because Mary represented something far more threatening than her gender, she represented the sacred feminine. And the sacred feminine is central to the hidden teachings of Jesus. Throughout mystical traditions, spiritual enlightenment is not just an ascent, it's a marriage. Not of bodies, but of opposites, light and dark, masculine and feminine, spirit and matter, reason and intuition. The Gnostics called this syzygy, the union of divine counterparts. In the Gospel of Philip, it is said, "The Lord loved Mary more than all the disciples and kissed her often on the mouth." The disciples ask, "Why do you love her more than us?" And he replies, "Why do I not love you as I do her?" But this is not romance. This is symbolism. The kiss represents the transfer of knowledge, pneuma, or breath. It is the same breath that moved over the waters of creation. The same breath breathed into Adam. It is initiation. Jesus and Mary represent the alchemical opposites, yin and yang, whose union births the awakened soul. To walk the inner path requires this balance. Too much masculine energy, doctrine, control, analysis, and the spirit becomes rigid. Too much feminine energy, emotion, passivity, mysticism, and the spirit becomes ungrounded. But when united, they form the Christ state, the marriage of heaven and earth within. This hidden teaching echoes in Jesus' emphasis on becoming one. In the Gospel of Thomas, he says, "When you make the two one, then will you enter the kingdom." He speaks of inner unification, healing the split between ego and soul, between the human and the divine. Now let's speak of something even more controversial, reincarnation. Though condemned by later church councils, reincarnation was not foreign to early Christian thought. In fact, many of the early church fathers, such as Origen, taught that the soul existed before birth and would continue after death in successive lives to learn and evolve. In the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus says, "Blessed is the one who came into being before coming into being." A riddle? Yes, but also a subtle nod to pre-existence, the soul's eternal nature. Even in the canonical Gospels, when Jesus asks his disciples, "Who do men say that I am?" they answer, "Some say Elijah, others say one of the prophets." This only makes sense if the people of that time believed in the return of souls. But why was reincarnation suppressed? Because it gives power back to the individual. If the soul reincarnates, it means we are on a journey of growth that spans many lifetimes, not bound by one chance, not beholden to a single authority. It undermines the concept of damnation and eternal punishment, replacing it with evolution, healing, remembrance. The final, and perhaps most profound, hidden teaching is this: return to the source. In the Gnostic cosmology, the soul descends from the pleroma, the fullness of divine light, into the density of matter. Life on earth is not punishment, but forgetfulness. The soul becomes entangled in illusion, in false identities, in suffering. Jesus came not to save us from an angry God, but to remind us of our origin, and show the path home. In the Hymn of the Pearl, an ancient mystical poem included in some Gnostic texts, the soul is a prince who descends into Egypt to retrieve a pearl, forgetting who he is. Only when a message from the father and mother reaches him does he awaken, remember his mission, and begin his return. This is you. This is all of us. The pearl is your essence. Egypt is the world of illusion. The awakening is the gnosis that Jesus sought to ignite. These teachings were never meant for the masses. They were veiled, coded, hidden behind parables and paradoxes. Why? Because truth cannot be given, it must be discovered. It is not received through belief, but earned through inner work. Jesus was not offering membership in a religion. He was offering initiation into a mystery school of the soul. In the next section, we will explore how to apply these teachings, how to begin the inner journey, unlock the kingdom within, and awaken the light that has always been waiting. It is one thing to contemplate ancient wisdom. It is another to embody it. The hidden teachings of Jesus were never meant to remain trapped in parchment or whispered in secret. They were meant to be lived. And not by saints and sages alone, but by you. Right now. In your everyday life. Let's begin where Jesus often began, within. The kingdom is inside of you. To touch this kingdom, you must turn inward. Not in theory, but in practice. 1. The practice of inner stillness, entering the kingdom. Jesus often withdrew to the wilderness. The desert. The mountain. These were not random locations. In mystical language, they represent the silence of the inner world, the space beyond thought and distraction. Begin each day with 10 minutes of silence. No music. No affirmations. Just your breath. Close your eyes. Inhale slowly through the nose. Exhale gently through the mouth. As thoughts rise, let them pass, do not follow them. You are not your thoughts. You are the space they pass through. This is what Jesus meant by entering the closet and shutting the door. The closet is the mind. The door is the senses. Shut the outer world, and you will begin to hear the inner voice. 2. The eye must become single, activating spiritual vision. Jesus said, "If your eye be single, your whole body shall be full of light." This refers to the inner eye, the third eye. Not a fantasy, but a subtle center of awareness. It is tied to the pineal gland, long recognized in spiritual traditions as the seat of the soul. A simple exercise: sit in stillness with eyes closed. Gently focus your attention on the space between your eyebrows. You may feel warmth, tingling, or light pressure. This is normal. As thoughts come, keep bringing attention back to that point. Over time, this center becomes active. You begin to see not with physical eyes, but with perception, patterns, intuitions, inner truths become clearer. The more it opens, the more you perceive reality as it is, not as it appears. 3. Remembering the divine spark, self-observation and gnosis. Jesus said, "Know yourselves and you will be known." To do this, become the observer of your own life. Throughout the day, ask, what am I feeling right now? Who is reacting? Is this thought from my true self or my conditioned self? This self-inquiry peels back the layers of personality and reveals the still, divine core. It is not enough to repeat affirmations, you must see yourself clearly, without judgment. Keep a journal. Note moments of insight, moments when you were reactive, and moments of stillness. This daily tracking of awareness builds what the mystics call inner remembrance. 4. Cultivating the sacred feminine and masculine, inner union. Most of us are imbalanced. We are too rational or too emotional. Too passive or too aggressive. Jesus' hidden teaching was to unite the two energies within. Begin with awareness. When you feel scattered, practice structure and clarity, masculine. When you feel rigid or cold, practice softness and empathy, feminine. A useful technique: place your right hand over your heart, left hand over your belly. As you breathe, visualize light moving between the two, balancing giving and receiving, doing and being. Over time, this harmonization creates wholeness. It awakens the Christ within, the union of opposites, the return to the original self. 5. Living the teaching, every act is alchemy. In the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus says, if you make the inside like the outside, and the outside like the inside, then you will enter the kingdom. This is alchemical. It means to live without division. Your thoughts, words, and actions must align. This is integrity, not as morality, but as energetic coherence. Choose one action today: washing dishes, speaking with a stranger, walking in the park, and do it with full presence. See it as sacred. Feel gratitude for the moment itself. This turns the ordinary into the holy. It is the art of mystical living. These practices are not about becoming good. They are about becoming whole. The hidden teachings of Jesus are not merely spiritual, they are transformational. They lead not to belief, but to awakening. Not to blind faith, but to living gnosis. In the final section, we will bring all of this together, and leave you with a parting message to carry into your journey. You have not merely listened to a teaching. You have remembered something. There is a reason the hidden teachings of Jesus were whispered in caves, coded in symbols, and passed only to those with ears to hear. These were not teachings for crowds. They were for the seeker, for the one willing to go beyond belief and into direct experience. Let's reflect on what we've uncovered. We journeyed beyond the canonized scriptures into lost gospels, texts that reveal Jesus as more than a prophet or Messiah. He was a master of transformation, a teacher of inner alchemy. His path was not merely about worship, it was about awakening the divine spark within each of us. We saw how early mystics viewed the soul not as damned, but as asleep. Jesus did not come to judge, but to awaken us to our forgotten origin, to reveal that the kingdom of heaven is not in the sky or after death, but here, now, inside your very being. We uncovered the sacred union of opposites, the balance of masculine and feminine, matter and spirit, intellect and intuition. We saw how Mary Magdalene symbolized the hidden side of the path, and how the Gnostic vision preserves a wisdom deeper than dogma. And most importantly, we brought it home. Stillness. Self-inquiry. Breath. Awareness. You now hold the keys to the temple. And the temple is you. But this is not the end of the journey. This is the first step into remembrance. So now, ask yourself, what will you do with this knowledge? Will it be another idea? Or will it become your initiation? The truth is not out there. It is in your breath, in your silence, in your willingness to see with new eyes. Jesus did not ask for belief. He asked for transformation. And transformation begins with a single choice, to turn inward and reclaim the divine that has always been waiting within. You are the seeker. You are the mystery. You are the spark. And now, you have been given the map. Go inward. Go deep. And above all, remember who you are.